You know that very specific smell of a VIP lounge at 2 in the morning. It's a cocktail of desperation, spilled Grey Goose, and perfume that costs $400 an ounce but still smells like it's trying to cover up a funeral home. That used to be my office. Or at least, it was. I was standing behind the velvet rope at Club Sanctum, wearing a black uniform tailored just a little too well, designed to make me look less like a person and more like furniture with a pulse. The bass from the main floor vibrated through the soles of my cheap, non-slip rubber shoes. Not the Louboutins I used to wear back when I actually owned a place like this. That's the thing about nightlife. It remembers your face, but it forgets your name the second your credit limit drops. Then she walked in. Claudia Haynes. She didn't walk so much as glide, like she was being carried forward on a conveyor belt made of other people's money. She wore a white mink coat that looked like it had been skinned 5 minutes ago, and her eyes scanned the room the way a predator scans for something soft to bite. That someone was usually me. Check my coat, sweetie. She didn't hand it to me. She threw it. The coat hit my chest before I could even raise my hands. It was heavy, still cold from the night air, and carried that metallic scent of new money, money that hasn't learned manners yet. I caught it on instinct. Instinct is hard to kill. My fingers tightened in the fur hard enough to bruise the hide. You dropped a hanger last time, Claudia sneered, not even looking at me. She was too busy admiring her reflection in the DJ booth window. If you ruin the lining, I'll have it deducted from your, whatever it is you earn. Tips. Peanuts. I didn't respond. I simply tagged the coat. Ticket number 666. If she noticed the irony, she was too busy checking her teeth for kale, or cocaine. Before I go any further into how I dismantled this woman's life brick by gilded brick, do me a favor. Hit subscribe. Give this video a like. It keeps the algorithm fed, and after what I'm about to tell you, you're going to want to be notified when the legal updates drop. It's the only tip I'm asking for. Now, back to the fur. I watched Claudia sashay into the VIP section, breezing past the security guard, a shaved gorilla in a suit, who nodded at her like royalty had just entered the room. Everyone nodded at her. She was the wife of Elliot Haynes, the tech CEO whose company, Sphere, had just acquired half of downtown. In this ecosystem, Claudia was an apex predator. I was krill, but even krill can clog an engine, if there are enough of them. Or if one of them knows exactly how the engine works. 2 years ago, I wasn't holding coats. I was throwing them. I owned the Velvet Room, 3 blocks down. Sharper, darker, cooler. We didn't let people like Claudia in because they poisoned the vibe. They treated staff like NPCs in their personal video game. I had a strict no-nonsense policy, and Claudia Haynes was the patron saint of nonsense. I still remember the first time I denied her entry. "Do you know who my husband is?" she hissed, her face flushing that blotchy shade of wounded entitlement. "I don't care if your husband is Jesus Christ in a Yeezy collab," I told her. "You're not on the list." The denial wasn't my mistake. That part was delicious. The mistake was underestimating how much free time a bored trophy wife with a vindictive streak actually has. Now I stood in the shadows of Club Sanctum, watching her hold court. She lounged on a tufted leather banquet that I knew hadn't been deep cleaned since 2019. She snapped her fingers at a waitress named Sarah, a girl working her way through law school, who absolutely did not deserve to be treated like a servant in a Victorian melodrama. "More ice," Claudia barked. "And tell the bartender this vodka tastes like tap water. I want the bottle opened in front of me." I adjusted my earpiece. "Sarah," I murmured into the mic, keeping my voice steady. "Just bring her the bucket. Don't engage. She's looking for a fight to spice up her Tuesday." Sarah glanced at me, wide-eyed and grateful. I gave her the smallest nod. That's what I was now. The shadow manager. The ghost in the machine. Sanctum's management kept me around because I knew where the bodies were buried, literally, in terms of plumbing disasters, and metaphorically, when it came to liquor license loopholes. They thought I was broken. Grateful for a paycheck after my world imploded. They had no idea I was taking notes. Claudia laughed. A sharp, shattering sound like glass in a dishwasher. She leaned into a man who definitely wasn't Elliot. Young, probably a personal trainer or a tequila brand ambassador. Hair so gelled it could survive a hurricane. Her manicured hand slid down his arm under the lights. "God, service here has gone downhill," she announced loudly, making sure her voice carried to the coat check. Ever since they started hiring refugees from that failed club down the street. She meant me. She knew I could hear her. That was part of the ritual. She needed to remind me every week that she had won and I had lost. I looked down at the fur coat in my hands. Soft, expensive, completely vulnerable. For a moment, I imagined taking shears to the lining. Just one small snip, a loose thread that would unravel everything over time. But that would have been petty. Amateur. I wasn't interested in ruining a coat. I was interested in ruining the person wearing it. I hung the coat with exaggerated care, smoothing the fur. Enjoy it while it lasts, sweetie, I whispered to the empty cloakroom. The bass dropped again, rattling the floorboards. I checked my watch. 2:15 a.m. In exactly 4 hours, the Tokyo markets would open. And a very specific shell company I'd registered in the Cayman Islands was set to trigger a purchase order so quiet, it would go unnoticed by everyone, except the people who were looking for it. Claudia thought this was just another night of her reign. She had no idea she was dancing on a trapdoor. And I was standing underneath it, oiling the hinges. The music swelled, swallowing her laughter, but I could still see her mouth moving, shaping insults, shaping her own downfall. I adjusted my name tag. Vanessa, staff, and I smiled. It was the kind of smile a shark gives right before it rolls its eyes back. The game was on. If you think the fur coat was the peak of it, you've clearly never worked service for the 1%. The coat was just the opening ceremony. The main event was what I call the humiliation loop, a routine Claudia had perfected with the efficiency of a factory assembly line. It usually started with drinks. Claudia didn't drink to get drunk. She drank to critique. Grey Goose, soda, 3 limes, splash of cran, tall glass, no straw, plenty of ice, but not too much ice. If Jason, the bartender, sweet kid, added 4 limes instead of 3. Crisis. If the splash of cranberry leaned toward a pour. Tragedy. Is it hard? She would ask, leaning over the bar, her cleavage adjusting like it had its own agenda. Is it hard to follow basic instructions? Or is that why you're on that side of the bar and I'm on this side? Jason would apologize, remake the drink, then she'd leave a tip. $1 single bill folded into an origami swan. It wasn't generosity, it was theater. For your art classes, she'd say. Then there was Elliot. If Claudia was the knife, Elliot was the numbness that followed the cut. He didn't yell, he didn't perform, he simply didn't register you as human. That Tuesday, he came in about an hour after Claudia. Suit worth more than my liquidation settlement. He bypassed the line, bypassed security, walked straight to VIP. As he passed coat check, he handed me his umbrella. No, he didn't hand it to me. He released it into the air near my body and assumed physics would take care of the rest. I caught it. Dry it, he said. Not a request, a command. Right away, Mr. Haynes, I replied, voice flat. He paused. Do I know you? My heart thudded, slow and cold. I don't think so, sir. I'm just staff. Right, he said, dismissing the thought. You have the same eyes as a woman who used to run a dump downtown. Never mind, she's probably in rehab. He walked away. A dump. My club had been featured in Architectural Digest. It had been a sanctuary. I took the umbrella to the back room. I didn't dry it. I opened it and left it dripping in the utility sink. Then I pulled out my phone. Upstairs, they were playing Masters of the Universe. Downstairs, I was playing 4D chess. I wasn't scrolling Instagram. I was logged into a private server, pulling county real estate filings. Club Sanctum wasn't owned by a person. It was owned by a holding company called Nightlife Ventures, which was owned by a larger conglomerate, leveraged to the ceiling by a private equity firm currently panicking over quarterly returns. I knew because I had spent 2 years reading nothing but financial disclosures. While Claudia read gossip blogs, I read balance sheets. I saw the cracks before anyone else. Nightlife Ventures was hemorrhaging money. Overexpanded into Vegas right before the dip. They were quietly preparing to liquidate assets. Sanctum was the crown jewel, but it was a jewel set in a sinking crown. There it was in the filings. Notice of intent to sell commercial assets. Buried deep in shareholder documents. I switched to a secure messaging app and typed 3 words to a contact labeled Ghost Investor. Green light. Proceed. Upstairs, Claudia's voice rose again. I stepped out to find her pointing at my shoes. Look, she shrieked, grabbing Elliot's arm. I told you. Look at her shoes. Are those orthopedic? Oh my God, Elliot. It's like a nursing home caught fire and they wandered in here. Laughter rippled around her. I looked down at my practical, non-slip work shoes. They were ugly. They were comfortable. They kept me upright for 10-hour shifts while I plotted their destruction. Comfort is key when you work for a living, Mrs. Haynes, I said calmly, projecting just enough to cut through the base. The laughter faltered. Excuse me. She stepped closer. Did the furniture just speak? These shoes have excellent traction, I replied evenly. Important when floors get slippery. Is that a threat? It's a safety tip. Floors change. Management changes. Everything gets slippery eventually. Fire her, Claudia snapped at Gary, the general manager who had rushed over, sweating. Fire this grim reaper right now. Gary had the spine of warm chocolate. He looked at me, panicked. He knew I ran inventory better than he did. He knew I covered his mistakes. Claudia, please, he pleaded. Vanessa is reliable. It's a busy night. I don't care. She lowers the property value just by existing. I'll check the stock in the basement, I said smoothly, saving him from choosing. I turned my back on her. The ultimate insult. As I descended the stairs, her voice echoed behind me, shrill with outrage. In the dim light of the stockroom, my phone buzzed. Ghost investor. Funding secured. Initial offer drafted. Do we want the brand name? I paused on the landing and typed back. No, just the building, the land, the liquor license. Burn the brand. Above me, the party thumped against the ceiling. They were dancing on my ceiling. Soon, I'd be pulling the floor out from under them. And this time, I wasn't built for their kind of business. I was built for war.